Hi, this is Oliver from Bakersfield. Welcome to Heels of Gold.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Huell's Gold number 63. I'm Chris.
I'm Alan.
And we're in McCloud.
Yep.
Okay, so I didn't even know it was a town that we were going to this week. I saw this episode years ago, but every time I see it, I always think like, oh, this is going to be some cabin or a lake. But no, it's a whole town.
Yeah. What was it named after? The McCloud? Is it a lumber company?
Which was named after a river, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way, Huell really had to kind of sell it up a bit this week by showing Mount Shasta right in the cold open there. Because, like, you say McCloud, you're thinking, was that Nebraska? No, I don't know. It's not a very common
no one's ever
place.
heard of it.
Yeah. So he shows Mount Shasta, the second highest.
Have you seen this view before?
Not exactly. Like, I've gone up, or I guess down I-5, coming back south from the Pacific Northwest. I usually take the coastal route. You've gone up this way, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, on our fake tour.
It was real.
It was real.
You really went to the places.
We did.
You were just mostly playing to the other bands.
Yeah, that was the audience. Although,
man.
we did get gas money. We about
Well,
broke
then
even.
there you go.
So, it's fair.
But McCloud, way up super far north, is one of these interesting towns that existed. Well, the town still exists, but what was going on with the town back in the day is kind of a cool, I don't know. It's like a economic relic. These things don't exist anymore,
No.
really.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear about it. Huell, tell us about old McCloud.
Town was bustling back in the 1890s. It was a lumber town, a company town, literally owned and operated by the McCloud River Lumber Company, a company that gave the town its name and constructed, among other things, rows of company-owned houses for its loyal employees. Today, McCloud is no longer a company-owned town, but the rows of original houses are still there, along with a real sense of history and civic pride. McCloud is home to about 1,600 people. It's a quiet little community nestled on the southern slope of Mount Shasta. We'd been invited to spend the weekend there during their annual Heritage Day celebration. And after spending the night in one of the local bed and breakfast, I hooked up early in the morning with 3 lifetime McCloud residents for a walking tour of their historic town.
So the company town concept, like I've heard about it mostly just in this lumber business context. Have you, like, is this something you're familiar with in any other way?
I mean, not super in depth, but when we were talking about Taft, when Andrew was on the show,
Yeah.
that was sort of like a company. I mean, it wasn't totally a company town.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about company towns is usually once the companies leave,
The town's
the towns,
done.
pass on as well. But
It's a civic way of putting it.
well, a lot of the railhead stopped with the railroads when they would establish, a city as a railhead.
Yeah.
And we had ours over here.
Oh, true. Yeah. The
Old Town or Sumner
Sumner. I was blanking on what
was
it was
one,
called.
and also Caliente,
True.
another one. It was a functioning place, but it wasn't sustained for all that long.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the whole railroad aspect because we got to keep it real with the train freaks that we got coming left and right in this show. I was looking up McCloud, like the McCloud River Lumber Company, yeah, and there's one site that has a bunch of information on it. It's called trainweb.org because they're looking at it from the fact that, which we're going to get to later, that McCloud River Lumber Company also owned a private railroad and rail cars to move lumber. But one thing that they did talk about in this site, did you find this at all in your research?
Well, so when they talk about the owner of the current rail line, Jeff Forbes, I think his name.
At the
it's
end?
actually from this website. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have that. Yeah,
Okay.
there.
So the little tidbits in the beginning that I wanted to bring up were the fact that I guess the McCloud River Lumber Company was really good to their employees. Obviously, people don't have to live in a town when they don't get to own anything unless it's kind of advantageous for them. And we're going to find that it very much was. But they even called it Mother McCloud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was around to 1963, and they sold it to the U.S. Plywood Company. So not as cool. Like,
No.
it's the most boring company name I've ever heard compared to the McCloud River Lumber Company. U.S. Plywood. Eventually became was bought out by California Cedar Products, the makers of the classic number 2 pencil.
Oh.
I got someone, I think my friend Kevin gave me a pack of Dixon Ticonderoga number 2s for my birthday. And he thought like, oh, that's just a funny like throwaway gift that he just got it almost as a gag. Use them all the time. There's some right there.
Oh, yeah. Look at your little pencil holder here.
But then that closed down in 2003. And there was this whole controversy for like 5 years of Nestle trying to open a water bottle plant in the old sawmill. Did you read all about that?
No, I didn't read that, but this is sounding familiar though.
Yeah. So for about 5 years, Nestle was really considering it. The McCloudites were pushing hard against it, and Nestle did not do it. Like, it doesn't seem like they were pushed out from the research I did, but it definitely it was not a popular thing that was going on. Which, if anyone does any research into Nestle and their water bottling things up in the Northern California area,
Yeah, I mean,
it creates opinions.
Well, right. So yeah, the company town model is really interesting though, because we get to see all the amenities that are created.
Yeah,
right? But you're dependent on one company. That's sort of the problem with it.
True.
So anyone who likes Jane Jacobs will know that this is probably not the model when you build your city out of. But I think the Nestle thing's interesting because they're sort of scrambling, right, to try to figure out what to do once these, these whatever businesses or the core businesses dry up. So
yeah. In fact, I made a little connection with the students I'm working with, doing my student teaching, because I try and make them understand how the American South could have gone to war for something as silly as slavery. Like, it just, in the context of today, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would people care so much about something that was so brutal? I try and put it in economic terms that like the whole southern United States was built on slavery.
Yeah.
Even there was a factoid that was in one of the videos we watched that there was more wealth in slaves than in currency, stocks, bonds, all that. So,
well, even all the capital goods, right? I mean,
yeah.
So it's one of the interesting things. Yeah, slavery was.
So that didn't really catch them. But I said, like, imagine. I'm sure there's plenty of people here in this room whose parents, uncles, grandmothers, whoever, work either for the oil industry or the agricultural industry around us. If those things were to, say, be threatened in some way, people would probably really all of a sudden be up in arms, literally maybe, about oil and agriculture, which does sort of happen far from the extent of the Civil War. But imagine if your whole town, like our town is really based on those two industries, but not wholly. McCloud, man, it was all that lumber company.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they seem to really have it figured out there with that big old mall they had, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get to the public services too. But yeah. So have you ever been to a mall like this where they have a hardware store,
butcher,
grocery store?
No.
Women's clothing, men's clothing.
But okay, so Huell, as you heard in the clip, is being toured around by these 3 lifelong citizens, And that's what one of them is just stressing. Like, this is a mall. This is America's first mall. We got all this stuff in one building. And, like, really, it just seems like a general store, man.
Yeah.
It's big.
Well,
And
did you notice that he was? We don't get their names, and it didn't.
No.
If you sometimes when you turn on the closed captioning on Chapman's when they're hosting, it'll have it like when they're talking, right? It'll show their name before, even though they weren't mentioned at all, not even in the closed captions. But when he's talking about the mall, he says, "Hey, it's one of those places where you didn't have to go out in the wet."
I didn't hear that.
No, is it just me?
I'm sure. If
I
you're
hope it's
reading
not
the
just
captions,
me.
it must be.
No, I was
but-
listening to it, and I heard it. I
Oh,
started
man.
laughing, and I listened to it. Yeah.
Oh. So, we're gonna have to like get through this stuff quick because there's actually a ton going on in this episode. So, yeah, there's the mall. Then they move over to the hospital, which again, company owned.
And company paid for the nurses and doctors, right?
Yeah. So the people didn't have to pay for any real out-of-pocket health care because there was $1 a month healthcare coverage provided.
And these three were born here, right? They're talking. Okay.
And just based on their looks in the video, they're like late 60s age range. And man, they definitely do a really good job of selling this whole company town model here.
Well, if anyone could be jaded, right, it would be, they've seen the whole thing, which is kind of trippy because I forget what there aren't any names.
No.
But when they were talking about, what do you say, you sell your soul? What did he say exactly? He said you owned your soul to the company store. That was that's an old adage that he was mentioning, and Huell would ask them, well, wasn't that a good thing? Was that a good thing? He sort of threw it out there as a question. And universal, yeah. Yeah, because when the Great Depression was occurring, we weren't hungry.
Oh, that really seemed to be the point where the company town model really paid off. But I'm sure that there might have been certain ones that didn't work out because this one happened to be a lumber one, and lumber, at least back then, was a pretty solid business no matter what it was.
Right.
Because even like as the Great Depression was kind of fixed, quote unquote, by the New Deal, a lot of it was through public works, and even the government's going to buy your lumber if you're building stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the theory anyway.
Right.
Obviously, they made it through the Great Depression. They lasted till 1963. So these McCloudites, man. There's one thing about them that I noticed. Well, two things. They, at least the ones that Huell talks to, like super nostalgic about their town, and they know their wood.
Yeah.
Because we go to the church after, and like the one thing the lady has to talk about out front of the church is the siding.
The Chevelin log siding.
And that's like a quick thing. We talked to the, what would that guy have been? Pastor? What is it?
Oh, he's a priest.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Too many P words going on. Pine, priest, pastor. And then we go to the dance hall, which was built in 1906.
Yeah.
First thing out of this lady in this little, like, I don't know, the most square dancey dress there could be in the whole dang place is, this pine floor, and all about the wood inside. My daddy built this or something, or her husband. Did you catch it?
So wait, back to the church.
There was something else?
Because we skipped over it, yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get to this. Mm-hmm. And because we talked to Norma, who was it? Norma Catuzzo.
I couldn't even tell the name. That's why I didn't even want to bring it up.
Catuzzo.
Norma Cacciatore. Okay.
Right. But did you mention that the company also provided the lumber for the building?
No.
So, yeah.
I just,
So McCloud provided the lumber for the building. It provided the master carpenter to build it. So that was something I was going to say before we get to the dancing. Yes, I believe you're right. It was her, what was it?
I think it was husband.
It was husband, okay, yeah. But she mentioned that with all this square dancing, that wasn't what was hot, right? In the old days.
Is that old Dixieland
like,
jazz stuff.
like big band era, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they had this band called the Hottentots.
You ask anyone from back then, which I don't know. This is like people. Huell mentioned this was like 1908, 1909. In 1995, where we're at here in the show's history, like, are there people still around who are watching the Hottentots? Were the Hottentots around for 35 years?
You ever heard of the Hottentots?
Only here.
Are you a big band?
No, that's not my style of jazz.
Okay.
But
Michael Bublé, right?
where are you going right now? This is acting like we've never talked about music before.
I know. Obviously, yeah. You just had a special. It's not. It was just on. And
I thought maybe you were talking about you were referencing those bubbly.
oh no! But the guy at
commercials.
the barbecue shop downtown, he actually changed all of his bubblies to
No way.
Yeah, as a joke. It's pretty funny.
The sparkling water commercials. If you haven't seen them, it's kind of funny. Yeah, the dance scene is. I wish that Huell had like really gotten Huell-y about it and just busted in, like cut into some dancing to do some interviews. But the only cutting in is that little kid who keeps cutting into the shot and trying to get on camera. But that's kind of it. That's weirdly all that goes on in the actual town.
Well, you miss. I'm surprised you missed this.
What did I miss?
We had the at the Squaw Valley Riding Club, also known as the Horsemen's to the Locals, the annual town barbecue.
Oh no, we're getting.
We're getting there. Okay,
because first there's the Heritage Festival, which is really quick. That was going to be next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
let's just.
Okay. The way I cut the clip is different than I normally do because it's like the little voiceover segment, but then the little bit after that we normally like to like say for ourselves. But I had to get that guy.
I do. I'm so excited for
okay.
it. Yeah.
So here it is. Heritage Days.
Well, by this time, downtown McCloud was a beehive of activity. Heritage Days were in full swing, complete with arts and crafts, hamburgers sold by the Chamber of Commerce, and an old red fire engine to look at. Meanwhile, crosstown at the Squaw Valley Riding Club, known to the locals as the Horsemen's, the annual town barbecue was going on. Now, what is this event called, or what did it used to be called?
It's just called it used to be called the Pig in a Pit, Lamb on a Spit.
Wait a minute, pig in a pit, lamb on a spit.
Correct.
All right, there it is. So we really got to paint a picture of this guy because, dude, this is like if he just showed up anywhere in town here today, would you be surprised?
No.
This is like our kind of folk here. And okay, so white t-shirt with some graphics on it, always, obviously. He's got like a white trucker hat on.
Mesh.
With the mesh back.
Nice.
Double fisting what looks like Coors Lights. Are those silver bullets?
Dude, it's hard to tell.
It's definitely a silver label, but
Yeah.
back then I was, 8 years old. I didn't know what beers look like by brand.
Dude, just both beers in one hand.
Yeah. I don't even want to say double fisting because he's got one fist.
It's like double gripping.
But he's got probably...
Oh, we forgot the sunglasses hanging.
Yeah.
With the chums, or I don't know what they call them.
That's what those were, yeah.
Okay.
Those sunglass strappies. He's got what, like maybe a half a pound of chewing tobacco in his lip, too?
It's funny that when I first watched this, I had a question in my notes. Does he have chew? For sure. For sure.
Oh, man. And then his homeboy comes up with the pig on a spit, lamb on a dip, or whatever it's called. Pig in a pit, lamb on a spit. Like it's a plate of food. And, okay, so the guy's got like a rodeo kind of button-up shirt on, right? And a cowboy hat. That he unbuttoned.
Open, so he's casual.
I think maybe he just had it open like he needed some extra room in the britches,
Okay.
He's eating so much food. But he's talking about what meat he's got on there. And, bro, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
Huell's finger dips in the meat for a second, right there. So Louie's in real tight on this paper plate of meat, and Huell's just pointing at it to point at it, and just bloop,
Just kind of dips it in there. Well, the funny part about that is his homeboy proceeds to misidentify everything on the plate.
yeah.
And then he goes, no. That's your lamb, that's your pig, and that's rigatoni.
Yeah, I know. And there's also that split second of the lady who's over in the corner of the shot. Did you notice her?
Not too
Okay,
much.
so the woman standing next to our original double fister boy has just like a black T-shirt, blonde hair, sunglasses, like, not, she's just being her. Homeboy comes in with the plate.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an MGD. That's definitely a Miller Genuine Draft in hand, with fingers so close to his food, and then they pull back out. And there's a lady on the left side of the shot, so not liking what's going on. Get me out this camera. But then, just quick little 2-second interviews, right?
Yeah.
And then Huell's plate.
Dude, rigatoni. Can we talk about that? What is it?
Why is there
rigatoni?
I don't. You know what it looks like to me? Okay, so this is getting back to me, being a chubby kid and eating kind of gross food. Is that Chef Boyardee stuff?
Mm-hmm.
This is what this looks like to me. Is
Just
beef.
tell me you didn't eat it cold, out of the can.
Yeah. Not every time, but there were
That's
times when I'm
gross.
just gablop, smack it down. I never ate it out of the can. I'm not a barbarian.
I don't believe it.
I
You might have just
no, no.
forgot. You probably did. Now this looks like this
In
looks
my
like
food
a
coma.
Hamburger Helper rigatoni edition.
Totally, yeah.
Which we've talked about this. As kids, we ate the same kind of food. This is why Roseanne was so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's white bread,
yeah.
hamburger helper. It's just what the diet was.
I mean, my mom being Italian kind of added a little bit of Italian flair in there, but
Just put more pepper on it.
a little bit. I mean, we weren't I've realized now that we were nowhere near as Italian as Kathleen's family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she sent us that video of how much pasta there really is in her parents' pantry.
Yeah.
We had a couple boxes, but
And the fact that she can count on one hand how many times she's eaten peanut butter and jelly. Because her mom would just make her spaghetti
as the go-to.
as the go-to. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I always had that theory that people who didn't like peanut butter and jelly were actually aliens in disguise. But I guess I didn't take, more ethnically diverse families into account. But either way, we're actually heading out of town now, right?
Yes, sir.
Leaving the barbecue, heading on. It's weird. We were on I-5. Now we're just getting on the 99. Let's see where we're going, yeah?
Let's do it.
Well, after sampling a whole plateful of pig in a pit, lamb on a spit, it was time to head out of town for the afternoon to visit 2 local landmarks. Now, to get to them, we headed due east on Highway 99. First stop was MacArthur Burney Falls Memorial State Park. And we were in for a real treat because this park contains one of our state's most spectacular natural wonders.
So, what is this place called? MacArthur Burney Falls State Historic Park. It's a mouthful.
It is. I think there's memorial in there too, but I don't know.
Memorial State Historic Park. Okay, so this is cool. I don't really understand why it's part of the show, honestly.
Proximity, maybe.
Yeah. I'm sure Huell's probably just being told where to go. Because, it's a cool waterfall. And I'm sure in person it's real impressive.
Right, the guy with no shirt on fishing.
There's a no shirt, no shoes, no problem policy going on there. It's a cool waterfall.
Well, I'll tell you what I thought was cool about it.
Okay. Because I really am kind of at a loss for words for it beyond just
Well,
hey, go watch the episode. It looks cool. I don't know what we can
it's,
say about it.
It is hard to. Well, he does do that little interview with one guy, and he's like, "So what are you contemplating?" What a kind of question. Huell comes at him with that, And he said, an ancient geologic marvel. He comes back with.
But he gets really macro with it, and then gets real micro at the end when he says, "I'm contemplating the hike back up with my age."
And then he had the kid in the back that had the giant Boston Bruins T-shirt.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the old giant bee.
The park ranger whose name we don't get, I don't think. He had one statistic that he loved because he said, I think 3 times, that it's 100 million gallons of water per day.
Falling 129 feet.
Okay, dude. We get it. You're all about the Bernie Falls.
So what I thought the coolest part of this is that this is a case study in
I knew you were going here.
private environmental preservation.
Yep.
Because this is, people they don't think it's ever going to happen. It just doesn't happen. And not only did they purchase the waterfalls, they purchased the surrounding land.
Yeah. This was like a specific family, MacArthur family bought this land specifically to preserve. Yeah, you've talked about this to me a lot, and like I don't have as much faith in the privatization of stuff like this as you do, but things like this really do exist, and I think a bigger deal should be made about it.
Yeah.
Because not many times has that happened where someone who's got funds can just buy land simply to keep it the same.
True, but you could also pool funds together.
Yeah.
Right? So you can create preservation societies. Anyway, I thought it was cool, and it was cool that they highlighted it. The Ranger because it was a gift to California.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. I guess to us, right? We're Californians, so.
We can go there free of charge.
Yep.
Let's get out of here now, though, right?
Yep. Let's get out of here.
Back on the road.
Leaving Bernie Falls, we headed back toward McCloud on Highway 99. On our way to the second local landmark we were told we just had to see. Destination, Fowler's Campground in the Shasta Trinity National Forest. We were there to visit a place that's been a part of life for generations of McCloudites.
So we finally got someone's name here. Philip.
Big Phil.
Just Philip. And he's on screen for a total, 45 seconds?
Yep.
And he basically just walks Huell over to this swimming hole that all the McCloudites jump off a cliff into.
He provides approximately, zero specific information.
No.
Right? So it's one of these things is Huell would ask him, how cold is it? It's like, I don't know the exact temperature, but it's cold.
And you can tell that Huell then thought, man, Phil, get out of here, man. And then he, anamorphs into this Native American dude. What happened here?
Yeah.
They don't mention who this new dude is. He just takes the exact same spot as Phil in the shot. And he's got all kinds of specifics.
Yeah.
His specifics change. Did you notice that? The temperature changes a couple different times.
Yeah. Well, so one thing Huell said to the other guy, the second failed, Huell's looking for a statistic here.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how deep is it? It's like, I don't know. I don't know the exact depth. I never touched the bottom. And he's like, and then Huell says, so you've never touched bottom?
It's funny because that segues so well into the next part.
Oh, dude. Melanie?
So Huell does a quick little interview of a nice little family who's hanging out in the swimming hole. Oh, I just noticed Phil does show up again right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that. It's like a mom and dad and some little toddlers just in ankle deep water.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter, as little children do, is just kind of what looks like wearing little underoo type bathing suit thing of sorts. And she just
Dude, she walks over right in the middle, turns around, and just moons the camera.
She drops trow right there. And Huell's freaking, the dad's freaking but laughing. It's definitely it would be the number one funny thing in the video or in the whole episode, but we're coming up to the next part. And okay, I definitely don't want to assume anything about old Phil, but he seems to show back up when there's a girl in a bathing suit.
I can't assume his motives.
No. I mean,
But
what
he's
you
there.
going to do? Anyway, then we get to see what it really looks like when someone jumps off this little cliff here. And it just seemed like it was leading to it. Because had you seen this episode before today?
No.
Okay. Like, it just felt too obvious. Okay, they're going to jump in. Cool. The girls do it first. Oh, they got the courage. And then their, like, surfer bro boyfriend seemed to do it after. Is that how you kind of felt this was going? And then, oh, the boys hesitate a little bit more. Okay, what's going to happen next? Huell jumps in.
I like, though, when they're counting to 3. 3 counts are funny here.
Yeah.
They count. It goes 1, 2, and you hear when the guy says, wait a minute. 3. So, but yeah, we have the guys. Let's just talk about Huell.
Yeah, because
and his jump. Well,
so the surfer guys jump in. He's asking, what about that white water? He's like, that's where you want to jump. And so then Huell, okay. All right. So I wonder, first off, first time we've seen Huell's bare feet.
yes.
Secondly, do you think Huell had this already planned out, that he was going to get in water today?
Well, he's wearing board shorts, or swimming trunks, I should call them.
See, I'm not so sure that those are actually...
Do you think those are just, like,
I think
dickies?
they look like khaki shorts.
Oh, maybe they are. It's hard.
And then he changed into a navy blue T-shirt, which he did not have on just a second ago. So where do these clothes come from?
Maybe these are his sleeping clothes.
Like he just quick went... Okay, so you're saying that he was thinking like, shoot, Louis, I got to jump in, right? And he's like, just do it. I didn't bring anything to swim in. It's like, get your sleeping shorts.
What if this apparel here is his underwear?
Dude. Huell's a never nude? You think he's a never nude?
I don't know.
Because he never takes his shirt off. He's jumping into water. He's not taking his shirt off. You can tell homeboy's ripped. I don't know why. Like, we went over this before.
Yeah.
Maybe he's, got a huge tuft of hair. Maybe he's got a big birthmark. Who knows? But we also get that first moment of someone other than Huell kind of holding the California's Gold microphone.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. Phil number 2.
Can we talk about, well, first, Huell hesitates. We know he's afraid of heights. This is
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of dramatic effect, too. But did you notice that he jumped on 1?
Yeah.
He goes, okay, you ready? Okay, 1.
God. Well, it's just... Okay, I guess I need to ask, would you do this?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Well, when we went to visit our friends in Nashville, we went to a swimming hole.
And did something similar to this?
Yep. And then also, when the alarm goes off, you have 1 hour to get out, and they flood the area. So
I think I remember you telling me about
a little
this.
bit different.
It's so weird, but
yeah, we did the same thing. We jumped
it's just odd, though, because you wouldn't get in the 4 feet of water in the Kern River when we were all camping.
I told you why.
I know, man. Your
mother?
mom
Oh, dude. She said... she said a lot of things.
Yeah.
But one, it'll kill you.
They call it the killer Kern
the
for
undertow.
a reason.
And then she would tell me this whole scenario. If it does take you, okay, don't fight it. Don't panic. Just hold your breath until you can get a breath when you come out. Anyways, it's a whole thing.
This is such a thing that moms in Bakersfield have to tell their kids, like how to survive the killer Kern River if you fall in.
Well, the thing is, most people, unfortunately, they pass. Not at Hart Park.
No.
That's not where you go.
No.
Okay, that's where you end up.
Yeah,
maybe.
Canyon,
but it happens in the canyon. Yeah.
So Huell does jump in. He does crawl out, and there's a little bit. I guess I'll just play at the end.
What's that?
Of him getting out and having that like cold freak out moment. But the Phil number 2, who's holding the microphone for him, it's really weird because they're both looking at each other and don't really know what to do. So Phil number 2, like, he kind of slaps Huell.
What?
You didn't notice?
No, let's see it.
Okay, we'll do a quick playback.
Okay.
Because
I got to see that.
it's really awkward because Huell comes out the ladder. He says, "That water is cold," and then he hugs himself, and they don't stare at each other. Slap.
What?
I didn't even notice that.
In the face. It's not even in the arm.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
You think like a shoulder slap, right?
I know,
or
man.
slap on the back, or
So we're actually not done still. There's a lot going on in McCloud, so we got one more stop to make. So here we go.
It was a fun afternoon as we climbed aboard a train run by the McCloud River Railway Company and headed out through some beautiful country. Now, this railroad is historic itself because it's been here since 1897, part of the McCloud logging industry. And on this particular excursion, I ended up meeting and talking with Raymond Kofelt, who worked on the McCloud River Railway back in the 30s.
So keeping true to the train freaks, we're ending this one on a train, just like all episodes should. This is the McCloud River Lumber Company Railroad that was still in existence, which in the article that I read, it didn't sound like it was, but...
we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're with Raymond Kofelt, who worked on the railroad in the 1930s. And now they run what looks to be like open-air rail car passenger tours on the railroad. Because, again, this was a private railroad, so this was never used for any sort of commuting. And so these train freaks, they were just like, oh, we got to get on those rails, those private rails.
Well, he gives us a tidbit of information about how the logs were so large, there was only one log per car.
Big logs.
Big logs.
Huge logs.
Never seen them before. So
those are gone now. Now we just got these baby logs. So when you drove up and down the 5 into Oregon and all that, you saw the lumber trucks just every other car, right? Like,
no.
Dude, were there windows in this motorhome you were in?
We were riding legally. Yes, there were windows.
But just the windshield and the 2 passengers? Okay.
No, there weren't too many. I'm trying to think.
Maybe in the winter, though.
No, you reminded me that we did trail when we went over the pass when it was snowing. We trailed a truck.
There's just something I noticed. There are 2 things I noticed about like the upper western states. One, semi trucks can pull 3 trailers.
Yeah,
which is the first time you see it.
Yeah, that's not right.
Oh, there's
you
something
shouldn't be doing
crazy
that.
about it. And then all of the logging trucks all around there, because the train stopped kind of doing the hauling of the lumber a long time ago, but I guess McCloud stuck around because they still had the president of the dang place on the caboose. Huell did an interview with him.
Yeah, this is a Jeff Forbes.
Okay.
Which I'm going to show you a picture of him. And tell me if he looks like, I don't know, let's say Kevin McAllister's dad.
Dude, yeah. John Hurt so much. Kevin!
So this guy was dedicated, though.
To the craft of rail?
For 25 years, he had purchased, basically what you see is the president of this, 4 Rails, I think, Incorporated. Is that what they were? I think, let me check real quick to be sure. Yeah. So he bought that in about 1992, but he had been involved like in.
So he like straight up just bought this failing railroad service that was mostly for lumber.
Yes.
To try and save it.
Yeah, and so this TrainWeb.
Yeah. .org.
.org. Okay, first of all, he's dead. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Yeah, he passed on.
I did not see this one coming.
Yeah,
He's younger.
He died young, too. He died at 65, so it's super sad. Well, he died May 13th, 2016. But he was the main person, that was chiefly responsible for keeping the McCloud railroads alive for the last quarter century.
Wow, man.
So that's what they attributed to him. And he did move away, though, because what ended up happening is when we hear him in the caboose, he was trying to keep it alive.
Yeah,
different
yeah.
ways to generate income. Well, super didn't work out because in 2005 the railroad petitioned the state transportation board, I believe, to abandon most of its line. So a small section of line between McCloud and Mount Shasta remained open briefly for excursion and dinner train service. So it did, they tried to make something different out of it. And as timber demand declined, the railroad slowly cut back, although new ownership led to its downfall. I don't know what that means, but in 2009, the railroad ceased operation and closed down. The property is now for sale as of 2012. I didn't follow up on that. Maybe it's sold, maybe it hasn't.
Dang. R.I.P. all of that.
Yeah, so train died, service died, and Jeff died.
Dang.
It's kind of sad, but...
End of an era. Well, I wish we just ended on a light note in that story, but Huell kind of does end in a light note in the episode, because after the train, he's got one last little bit. He goes to the McCloud reservoir of sorts. It looks like a little tiny pond. It's much smaller. Mm-hmm. But he's making a big deal, and it is kind of a big deal that this is a completely untreated water source.
Yeah.
Because the water the snow that collects on Mount Shasta melts, drains through aquifers down into springs, and then it pops back up down here, and they collect it. And no wonder Nestle wanted this water. Like, if it's that good that the city doesn't even have to treat it,
right.
And Huell can go scooting along the side and scoop a cup of it up.
I know, he just holds a mug. What is he holding?
I don't. I always, it's got a little graphic on it. I always wondered, is it like some sort of like Snoopy mug or something that he keeps with him?
Anytime I see someone do this, I think of Christmas Vacation.
Which scene?
When the cousin, he dips it into the eggnog.
Yes. Yes. So
just sips it.
And then Huell comes up to the water manager guy. I forget his name. Did you get it?
I did not know.
I don't think they said his name. And he asked him, "So is this sweet water?"
Yeah. What does that mean?
Bro.
Is there a taste to it? And the guy said, "Yeah, it's good."
And then he goes, that's good water. Now, were you waiting? I was waiting for him to like take that swig and then just chuck the rest out into the reservoir.
That'd have been awesome. There's a few things. We'll pause it here. Let's have the backdrop.
Okay.
First of all, water's super fresh, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever encountered someone in the Bay Area who talks about how their water is from Hetch Hetchy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so clean. Hey, this is a competitor right here.
Yeah. I mean, this is like totally legit in as far as that goes, because Hetch Hetchy is a valley near like Yosemite area,
mm-hmm.
and San Francisco is just stealing that water.
For show.
And yeah, your water's real nice and good because you're stealing it from one of the most pristine areas in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And you also ruined a huge San Francisco didn't do it. the big like water developer government agencies created Hetch Hetchy Dam and Reservoir and kind of ruined a Native American spiritual site, I think it was, and like just an ecological. It really kind of rivaled Yosemite Valley in some ways. It was much smaller and not as like well known. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're just dam it up.
Hey man,
gotta get that water. San Francisco's thirsty.
It's thirsty city.
Hey, I drank that water for a year. It tasted good.
Yeah. Well. So.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's a cool area.
Yeah.
All right. Steph Curry needs the water. He needs to be hydrated.
Yeah.
The Warriors play.
So I've driven up through this area, this whole, what is it? Bishop? Is that where we were?
Mm-hmm.
To start, kind of near on the 5, and then up through. I never stopped in McCloud. I really want to see that old-timey mall. That's like the one thing.
Yeah.
That I really want to see.
Well, I wonder how it's, hopefully it's been taken care of. I haven't really looked up. Because that can be sad, when you're really excited for something and it's dilapidated.
I went to the McCloud Chamber of Commerce website, and it
looks decent though, but
there's not a ton of information.
Right, yeah.
But it's a town of 1,400 people, so the fact that they have a chamber website, What more? Can
Is
you
that
ask
a
for?
recent stat? So I came across the 2010. That's
No, that's not the recent. What was the?
it was
2010?
1100.
Oh,
It's in decline. But were you waiting? Let's go back to this reservoir.
yeah.
First, a few questions for you. Maybe you can answer these. First, how did they get out there?
Well, no, he
That-
says it right in the beginning. He's like, we just
Okay.
crawled through the hole in the fence.
Okay, so there we go. I missed that part. Perfect. So maybe he says these other things too.
Yeah.
He answers questions. First, how small is that ledge that they're on?
Oh, that dude. Yeah, no thanks. Obviously, it's not even a very deep reservoir or anything, so falling in would be no big deal, except for the fact that Homeboy said it was
Yes,
like
that's
a few degrees above freezing.
Well, that was the third thing. Is he says, "Oh, that water's so you can't swim in that; it'll give you a heart attack."
I don't know, man.
He's just kind of shimmying along the fence. So.
Like, there's all these polar bear plunges that people do, and there's not like people dying of heart attacks during
That's
them.
true. Yeah.
Either way, it definitely was a solid episode. I think it's a good way to go out for season 5. But, dude, I don't even have to ask you where we're going next week.
You know where we're going.
Dude, I've been waiting for this one for so long.
I have some questions for you too. So
I'm just going to put the episode name out there. I'm not going to get into it. The episode is Lighthouses. You know I'm a lighthouse freak. If for the train freaks out there, cool, I'm glad you got a thing. I got a thing too, and that thing is lighthouses.
okay.
You want to ask questions now? Or you
No,
want to wait
I'm
till
gonna
next
wait.
week?
I gotta wait.
All right. Well, you got to wait till next week to hear all about the lighthouse stuff. This week was all about Mount Shasta, which is up high, but not up as high as you're going to be in the lighthouses next week.
Oh, jeez. It's gonna be good.
So come along with us next week and every week as we continue our search for
Huell's Gold.
Do you believe me now that the water is cold?
That water is cold.
You better. You going to jump again?
Now, am I an honorary McCloud?
You are officially a McCloud. Officially.
Woo! You like seeing that, don't
I
you?
do, yeah.